The smell of collard greens and cornbread filled my small kitchen as I watched my son Darnell pull up in his shiny black Mercedes. It was Thanksgiving Day, 2024, and my heart should have been full of joy. Instead, something felt wrong. My stomach twisted like it does before a storm. Darnell walked in wearing a suit that probably cost more than my monthly pension. Behind him came his wife Simone in designer heels that clicked against my old linoleum floor. She smiled at me, but her eyes were cold. They'd been married 5 years, and in those 5 years, I'd watched my son change into someone I barely recognized. "Happy Thanksgiving, Mama," Darnell said, kissing my cheek. At 67 years old, I still got emotional when my baby boy called me Mama. He was 42 now, a successful real estate developer, but he'd always be my child. "Happy Thanksgiving, baby." I hugged him tight, breathing in his expensive cologne. "Y'all hungry? I made your favorite—" "Actually, Mama, we can't stay long," Simone interrupted, examining her perfect red nails. "We have dinner with my parents at 4. My heart sank, but I nodded. This had become normal. Quick visits, rushed conversations, always somewhere else to be. We sat in my tiny living room, the same one where I'd raised Darnell after his father passed when he was just 8 years old. I'd worked double shifts as a nurse's aide for 30 years to give him everything. Put him through college, helped with his first business loan. Now he lived in a mansion in the suburbs while I lived in the same 2-bedroom house in the old neighborhood. Darnell looked around my living room, and something crossed his face. Confusion? Concern? I couldn't tell. "Mama," he said slowly, "I've been meaning to ask you something." "What is it, baby?" "How do you like the lake house I bought you? I haven't heard anything from you about it. No calls, no thank you, nothing." He looked genuinely hurt. "I know we haven't been as close lately, but I thought a gift like that would at least get a response." The world stopped spinning. My mouth went dry. I looked at my son, trying to understand his words. "What house?" I whispered. "Darnell, what are you talking about?" His face went pale. "The lake house. The one on Lake Martin. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. Beautiful view. I bought it 6 months ago and had it put in your name. Cost me $400,000. My hands started shaking. "Baby, I don't know anything about any house." "I never received nothing like that." "That's impossible," Darnell said, standing up. "I signed all the papers. I gave Simone the documents to deliver to you. She said she—" He stopped mid-sentence and turned to look at his wife. Simone's face had gone completely still. The fake smile disappeared. For the first time since I'd met her, I saw her real face. It was cold and calculating. She slowly stood up and walked toward Darnell, her heels clicking like a countdown to disaster. "Simone," Darnell's voice shook. "Did you give my mother those papers?" The silence in that room was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Simone looked at him, then at me, then back at him. And then she smiled. But this smile was different. It was cruel, victorious. "No," she said simply. "No, I didn't." Before we continue, please comment below as I'd love to hear your thoughts and subscribe to the channel to help us hit that big 1,000 subscriber milestone. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. But this wasn't about me. I watched my son's face as he processed what his wife just admitted. "Why?" His voice was barely a whisper. "Why?" Simone laughed, a harsh sound that didn't match her pretty face. "Because that money was supposed to be ours, Darnell. Ours. We have bills. We have a lifestyle to maintain. Your mother has been fine in this little house for decades. She doesn't need a lake house." "You stole from my mother?" Darnell's voice rose. "You stole $400,000 from my mother?" "I didn't steal anything," Simone snapped. "The house is in some paperwork somewhere. I just redirected the funds. That's all." My nursing training kicked in even through my shock. I knew I needed to stay calm, to observe, to understand what was happening. But inside, my heart was breaking. Not because of the money or the house. I never knew about them to miss them, but because this woman had played my son like a fiddle. And maybe she'd been playing me too. "Where's the money, Simone?" Darnell's hands were balled into fists. "In investments," she said coolly. "In my name, in accounts you don't know about. Face it, Darnell, you're a good businessman, but you're a terrible husband manager. I've been taking care of things while you've been busy feeling guilty about your poor mother." The cruelty in her voice when she said "poor mother" made something snap inside me. I stood up, my old bones creaking, but my spine straight as steel. "Get out of my house," I said quietly. Simone turned to look at me like I was an annoying bug. "Excuse me?" "I said get out of my house. Now." "Oh, please," Simone rolled her eyes. "This is between me and my husband." "This is my house," I said, my voice getting stronger. "And you just admitted to stealing from me, so get out before I call the police." "The police?" Simone laughed. "And tell them what? That you didn't receive papers you were supposed to sign? Good luck proving anything, old woman." Darnell grabbed Simone's arm. "Don't you dare talk to my mother like that." She jerked away from him. "Your mother? Your mother? When are you going to grow up, Darnell? You're 42 years old, still running to Mama's house with your guilt money. Well, I fixed that problem for you." "You destroyed legal documents," Darnell said. "You committed fraud. "I protected our family," Simone interrupted. "From your weakness, from your constant need to play the good son. Do you know how exhausting it is being married to a man who can't stop trying to make up for being poor? We're rich now, Darnell. Act like it." I watched my son's face change. It was like watching him see his wife for the first time. The woman he'd married, who'd seemed so perfect and polished, was showing her true colors. And they were ugly. "We're done," Darnell said. "This marriage is done." Simone's eyes widened, then narrowed. "You think you can just leave me? I'm entitled to half of everything you own, Darnell. Half. And I have good lawyers, better lawyers than you can afford because I've been paying them with your money for the past 2 years. "What?" Darnell looked like he might faint. "Oh, yes." Simone's smile grew wider. "I've been preparing for this day. I knew eventually you'd figure it out or grow a spine. So I've been moving money, creating paper trails, building a case. If you try to divorce me, I'll take you for everything you're worth. The house, the business, your cars, your reputation. Everything." My hands clenched into fists. I'd survived raising a child alone, working myself to the bone, dealing with discrimination at work, burying my husband at 32 years old. But watching this woman threaten to destroy my son made my blood boil in a way nothing else ever had. "You evil woman," I whispered. Simone turned to me with fake pity on her face. "Evil? No, honey. I'm just smart. Something you clearly never taught your son. But don't worry. I'll teach him. I'll teach him that in this world. You either take or get taken. And I'm a taker." She grabbed her designer purse and headed for the door. "Come on, Darnell. We're going to be late for dinner with my parents. You know, the ones who actually matter." But Darnell didn't move. He stood in my living room, looking lost and broken. "Go to your wife," Simone said from the doorway. "Or stay with your mother. But know this. If you stay here, the war begins. And I promise you, I will win." She left, the door slamming behind her. The sound echoed through my small house like a gunshot. Darnell collapsed onto my old couch and put his head in his hands. "Mama, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." I sat next to him and rubbed his back like I did when he was a little boy. "Baby, this ain't your fault." "How did I not see it?" he whispered. "How did I not know?" "Because you loved her," I said softly. and love makes us blind sometimes. We sat there in silence for a long time. My Thanksgiving turkey was getting cold in the oven, but neither of us cared about food. Finally, Darnell lifted his head. "What do I do, Mama?" I thought about all the years I'd spent bowing down, staying quiet, accepting less than I deserved because I thought that was what good women did. I thought about how I'd worked myself half to death and never asked for anything from anybody. I thought about my son, who'd become successful and generous, trying to pay me back for the sacrifices I'd made. And I thought about Simone, that cold-eyed woman who thought she could steal from an old lady and get away with it. "You fight," I said. "We fight." "She has lawyers, Mama. She has money. She's been planning this." "And I have something she doesn't," I interrupted. "What's that?" I smiled, thinking about my friend Pauline from church, whose nephew was the best divorce attorney in the state. Thinking about my other friend Joyce, whose daughter worked for the IRS. Thinking about my community, my church family, all the people who'd offered to help me over the years that I'd been too proud to accept. "I have people who actually love us," I said. "And baby, that's more powerful than all her lawyers combined." Darnell looked at me with hope in his eyes. "You really think we can win?" Before I could answer, my phone rang. It was Pauline. "Lorraine girl, I just got the strangest call," she said, her voice urgent. "My nephew Bernard, the lawyer, he just got contacted by some woman named Simone trying to hire him to go after Darnell in a divorce. She said all kinds of terrible things about you and your boy. I told Bernard not to take the case, and he wants to talk to Darnell instead. What in the world is going on?" I looked at my son and smiled. "Pauline, I'm going to need you to give me Bernard's number, and then I'm going to need you to call the prayer circle. We got a fight on our hands." As I hung up the phone, Darnell was staring at me with a mixture of awe and relief. "Mama, I forgot." "You forgot that your mama might be old, but she ain't helpless," I finished for him. "And you forgot that we're black folks who know how to survive. Your wife thinks she's smart because she has money and lawyers, but she doesn't understand what it means to have family. Real family." My phone buzzed again. A text from Joyce. "Heard about your trouble. My daughter at the IRS says to have Darnell call her tomorrow. If that woman's been moving money around, there are rules about that. Let's talk." Then another text from my pastor. "Sister Lorraine, the church is here for you, whatever you need." And another from my neighbor, Miss Henderson. "I saw that woman leave your house looking smug. You need me to come over?" Darnell watched the messages coming in, his eyes getting wider. "Mama, how do all these people already know?" "Baby, you can't sneeze in this neighborhood without somebody saying bless you," I said. "And when one of us is in trouble, we all come running. That's something Simone will never understand." Darnell hugged me tight, and I felt him shaking. My strong, successful son was breaking down in my arms, but this time it would be okay. This time, he wasn't alone. "We're going to get your life back," I promised him. "We're going to make this right." "But Mama, she said she has everything planned. She has proof, documents, lawyers." "And we have the truth," I said firmly. "We have proof she destroyed legal documents. We have her confession right here in this room. And baby, I might not have fancy lawyers, but I have something better." "What?" "I have a memory like a steel trap and 67 years of learning how to outsmart people who underestimated me," I said. "Your wife made one big mistake today." "What's that?" "She showed her hand too early," I said. "She got cocky. She wanted to hurt us, to show off how smart she was. But in doing that, she gave us exactly what we need to fight back." Darnell wiped his eyes. "I love you, Mama." "I love you too, baby. Now dry your eyes. We got work to do." As Thanksgiving Day turned to evening, my living room filled up with people. Pauline came over with her nephew Bernard, the lawyer. Joyce arrived with her daughter Keisha from the IRS. Pastor William stopped by to pray with us. Miss Henderson brought over food since nobody had eaten. We sat around my small dining table, the same table where I'd helped Darnell with his homework all those years ago, and we made a plan. Bernard explained the law. Keisha explained financial crimes. Pastor Williams reminded us to keep faith. And I watched my son transform from broken to determined. "She's going to regret underestimating us," Darnell said, his jaw set. "Oh, she already does, baby," I said. "She just doesn't know it yet." My phone buzzed one more time, an unknown number. I answered it carefully. "Is this Mrs. Lorraine Hughes?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes, this is she." "My name is Detective Sharon Morrison with the Financial Crimes Unit. I received a call from a concerned citizen about potential fraud involving property documents. Would you be available to make a statement tomorrow?" I looked around my crowded living room at all these people who'd shown up to help me and my son. I thought about Simone in her big house, thinking she'd won. "Yes, Detective," I said, my voice steady and strong. "I'm definitely available, and I have quite a story to tell you." As I hung up, Darnell looked at me with tears in his eyes. "How did—" "Miss Henderson used to work at the county clerk's office," I said with a small smile. "She made a call to her old colleague. Turns out, when property documents mysteriously disappear, people pay attention." The room erupted in quiet celebration. But I held up my hand. "This is just the beginning," I warned them. "Simone is dangerous. She's smart. She has resources. This fight is going to get ugly." "Let it get ugly," Darnell said, standing up straight. "I'm ready." I looked at my son, really looked at him, and saw the boy I'd raised. Somewhere under all that guilt and confusion, he was still there. Still my baby. Still good. "Then let's show her what happens when you mess with the Hughes family," I said. But none of us knew just how ugly things were about to get, because at that exact moment, 50 miles away in her mansion, Simone was making phone calls of her own, and the war she'd promised was about to begin in ways none of us could have imagined. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls. My heart jumped, thinking something terrible had happened. But when I checked the messages, they were all from one person, Simone. The first few were sweet. "Mama Lorraine, I'm so sorry about yesterday. I was stressed. Can we talk?" But as the messages continued, they got uglier. The last one made my blood run cold. "You think you can turn my husband against me? You're going to regret this, old woman. I'll make sure you lose everything. That little house you love so much? I'll take it. Just wait." I showed the messages to Darnell, who'd spent the night in his old bedroom. His face went hard. "She's threatening you now," he said. "That's it. I'm getting a restraining order." But Bernard, the lawyer, shook his head when we met him at his office that Monday. "A restraining order tells her we're scared. Right now, she thinks she has the upper hand. Let's keep it that way while we build our case." "What case do we have?" Darnell asked. "She's right. She's been planning this for years." Bernard smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Son, your wife made several mistakes. First, she confessed in front of a witness, your mother. Second, she sent threatening text messages. Third, and this is the big one, she doesn't know that I've been doing some digging since Friday night." He pulled out a thick folder. "Your wife has been busy, very busy. She's been siphoning money from your business accounts for 3 years. Small amounts at first, then larger ones. She set up shell companies, fake businesses, to hide the money. She's got accounts in the Cayman Islands, investments under her mother's name, and property in Florida that you don't know about." Darnell's face went pale. "How much?" "So far, about $2.3 million. I gasped. Darnell looked like he might be sick. "But here's the beautiful part," Bernard continued. "She's been so careful about hiding it from you that she forgot about one thing: taxes. You can't move that much money around without the IRS noticing. And thanks to Keisha, they're noticing now." Over the next 2 weeks, Things happened fast. Detective Morrison came to my house and took my statement. Keisha's colleagues at the IRS started an investigation. Bernard filed for divorce on Darnell's behalf, claiming fraud and theft, and Simone lost her mind. She showed up at my house at 2 a.m, banging on my door and screaming, "You can't do this to me! I'll destroy you! Both of you!" Miss Henderson called the police. When they arrived, Simone tried to play the victim, crying and saying I'd turned her husband against her, but the officers weren't buying it. "Ma'am, you need to leave," one officer said firmly. "This is harassment." "Harassment?" Simone shrieked. "She stole my husband!" "Your husband is a grown man who can make his own choices," the officer said. "Now go, or we'll arrest you for disturbing the peace." After Simone left, I couldn't stop shaking. Miss Henderson made me tea and sat with me until sunrise. "That woman is dangerous, Lorraine," she said quietly. "You need to be careful." She was right. 2 days later, someone slashed the tires on my old car. The police couldn't prove it was Simone, but we all knew. Then someone called my church and told Pastor Williams that I'd been stealing from the collection plate. It was a lie, but it was embarrassing. "She's trying to break you down," Bernard explained. "It's a tactic. She wants you to give up, to convince Darnell to drop the case." "I'm not giving up," I said firmly. "She stole from my son. She threatened me. I'm not backing down." But I was scared. I'd lived alone in this house for 20 years, and suddenly I didn't feel safe. Darnell wanted me to move in with him, but I refused. This was my home. Instead, the church organized a watch schedule. Every night, someone from the congregation stayed in my guest room. Pauline, Joyce, Miss Henderson, even some of the younger members took shifts. They called it Protecting Sister Lorraine. One night, Brother Timothy was staying over when we heard someone trying to break in through the back window. Timothy, who was 6'4" and used to play college football, ran outside and chased them off. The police found evidence, fingerprints that led to a man Simone had hired. That was her second big mistake. "She hired someone to break into your house," Detective Morrison told me. "That's a felony. We have the man in custody and he's talking. Says Simone paid him $5,000 to scare the old lady. His words." The detective looked at me with respect. "Mrs. Hughes, you've got more people looking out for you than most witnesses I work with. Your community is something special." "We take care of our own," I said simply. The divorce proceedings started in February. The courtroom was packed, half with Simone's fancy lawyers and her family, half with people from my church and neighborhood. The judge, an older black woman named Judge Patricia Freeman, looked around with raised eyebrows. "This is family court, not a spectator sport," she said dryly. "Your Honor, my client has significant community support," Bernard said. "These people are here because they've witnessed the defendant's harassment firsthand." Simone's lead lawyer, a slick man in a $3,000 suit, stood up. "Your Honor, this is clearly an intimidation tactic. My client is the victim here. She's being persecuted by her husband's overbearing mother and her cult-like church group." The courtroom erupted. Judge Freeman slammed her gavel. "Order! I will have order in my courtroom." She glared at Simone's lawyer. "Counselor, I suggest you choose your words more carefully. Calling a church congregation a cult is not going to win you points with this court." Over the next 3 days, we watched as Bernard systematically destroyed Simone's case. He presented bank records, emails, text messages. He showed how she'd been stealing from Darnell's business for years. He brought in forensic accountants who explained the shell companies and hidden assets. Simone sat at her table, her face getting paler and paler. Her lawyers tried to fight back, claiming Darnell had given her access to the accounts, that she was entitled to manage family finances. But the evidence was overwhelming. Then Bernard called me to the stand. "Mrs. Hughes, can you tell the court what happened on Thanksgiving Day?" I took a deep breath and told the story. How Darnell asked about the lake house. how I'd never received any papers, how Simone admitted she'd taken the money and hidden it. "And what did she say to you that day?" Bernard asked. "She said I was an old woman who didn't need a lake house. She said she was protecting her family from my son's weakness. She said—" I paused, looking directly at Simone. "She said that in this world, you either take or get taken. And she was a taker." Simone's lawyer jumped up. "Objection! This is hearsay!" "Your Honor, Mrs. Hughes is testifying to words she heard directly," Bernard countered. "Overruled," Judge Freeman said. "Continue, Mrs. Hughes." I told them about the threatening phone calls, the slashed tires, the lies she spread about me at church. I told them about the man she hired to break into my house. When I finished, Simone's lawyer tried to make me look like a vindictive mother-in-law. "Mrs. Hughes, isn't it true that you never liked my client?" "That's not true," I said calmly. "I wanted to like her. I tried to welcome her into our family, but she made it clear from the start that she thought I was beneath her." "That's not a question," the lawyer snapped. "Counselor, ask a proper question or sit down," Judge Freeman said sharply. "Mrs. Hughes, isn't it possible that you're exaggerating these events because you want your son to leave his wife?" I looked at that lawyer, then at Simone, then at the judge. "Sir, I'm 67 years old. I've been a nurse's aide, a widow, a single mother. I've seen death and birth and everything in between. I don't have time or energy to exaggerate anything. I'm telling you what happened because it's the truth. And the truth is, that woman sitting there tried to steal from my son and then threatened me when I found out. That's not exaggeration. That's fact." The courtroom was silent. Even Simone's lawyer had nothing to say. Then Bernard called his surprise witness, Simone's ex-boyfriend from college. The man, named Raymond, looked nervous but determined. "I dated Simone for 2 years, he said. "She did the same thing to me. Took money from my accounts, forged my signature on loan documents. When I found out and confronted her, she threatened to accuse me of assault if I went to the police. I was young and scared, so I let her go. But I've regretted it every day since." Simone jumped up. "That's a lie! He's lying!" "Mrs. Anderson, sit down!" Judge Freeman commanded. "He's a liar! They're all lying!" Simone screamed. "This is a setup! That old woman has turned everyone against me!" "Mrs. Anderson, if you don't control yourself, I will hold you in contempt," the judge warned. But Simone was past controlling herself. Years of hiding behind a perfect mask had cracked, and now everything ugly inside was pouring out. "She's nothing," Simone shouted, pointing at me. "A poor old woman in a shabby house. She worked as a nurse's aide, barely better than a janitor. Why should she get $400,000? Why should she get anything? I deserve that money. I'm young, I'm educated, "You're done," Judge Freeman said coldly. She banged her gavel 3 times. "I've heard enough. This court will take a 30-minute recess, and then I'll deliver my ruling." During the recess, Darnell held my hand. "Mama, you were amazing." "I just told the truth, baby." When we returned, Judge Freeman looked at Simone with pure disgust. "Mrs. Anderson, in my 30 years on the bench, I have seen many cases of financial fraud, but I have rarely seen such calculated cruelty. You didn't just steal from your husband. You stole from his mother. You hired someone to intimidate an elderly woman. You have shown no remorse, only entitlement and rage." She turned to Darnell. "Mr. Anderson, your divorce is granted. Furthermore, Mrs. Anderson will receive nothing in this divorce. No alimony, no property settlement, nothing. Additionally, I am ordering her to pay restitution for all stolen funds plus damages." Simone's face went white. "You can't—" "I can and I have," Judge Freeman interrupted. "Additionally, I am referring this case to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. What you did wasn't just unethical, it was illegal." She looked at me. "Mrs. Hughes, I want you to know that your testimony today reminded me why I became a judge. To protect people like you from people like her. You have a good son, a strong community, and clearly, a spine of steel. Don't let anyone make you feel small." I felt tears rolling down my cheeks. "Thank you, Your Honor." As we left the courtroom, Simone tried one last time to get to Darnell. "Baby, please, we can fix this. I'll change. Don't," Darnell said quietly. "Don't say another word to me. Ever." Security escorted Simone out as she screamed and cried. It was a pathetic sight, but I felt no pity. She'd tried to destroy my son and threatened me. She'd made her choices. Outside the courthouse, my church family surrounded us, crying and praying and celebrating. The local news was there. Apparently, someone had tipped them off about the dramatic case. "Mrs. Hughes, how do you feel about the verdict?" a reporter asked. I thought about it carefully. I feel grateful. Grateful for justice, grateful for my community, grateful that my son is free from someone who didn't love him. And I feel hopeful that other people in similar situations will find the courage to fight back. 3 months later, everything had changed. The district attorney had charged Simone with fraud, theft, and conspiracy. She took a plea deal to avoid prison, 5 years probation, full restitution, and community service. Darnell got his money back, plus the $400,000 she'd stolen from me. He tried to give it all to me, but I refused. "Baby, use that money to build your business. Use it to start fresh. I don't need a lake house." "Mama, you deserve—" "What I deserve is to see my son happy," I interrupted. "That's all I've ever wanted." But Darnell was stubborn, just like me. He used some of the money to fix up my house. New roof, new kitchen, new bathroom. He set up a trust fund that would pay my bills for the rest of my life. And he bought himself a smaller house, right in my neighborhood, 3 blocks away. "I spent too long living far from you, Mama," he said. "I forgot where I came from. I forgot what matters." On a warm Sunday in June, Pastor Williams dedicated a new community center at our church. Darnell had donated the money to build it, in honor of me. "The Lorraine Hughes Community Center," the sign read. I cried like a baby. "Mama, you spent your whole life taking care of other people," Darnell said, hugging me tight. "You took care of me, you took care of your patients, you took care of this community. It's time someone took care of you." Standing there, surrounded by my church family, my son beside me, I realized something. Simone had tried to take everything from us, but in fighting back, we'd gained something more valuable than money or property. We'd gained our strength back, our dignity, our pride. And we'd learned that real wealth isn't in bank accounts or lake houses. It's in the people who show up at 2 a.m. when you're scared. It's in the church members who organize watch schedules. It's in the lawyers who take your case because it's right, not because you can pay. It's in the friends who make phone calls and the neighbors who chase off intruders. That's the wealth that matters. And that's the wealth that no one can ever steal. Miss Henderson squeezed my hand. "You did good, Lorraine." "We all did good," I corrected her, "because we did it together." That night, Darnell and I sat on my new porch swing, watching the sunset. "Mama, can I ask you something?" "Anything, baby." "Were you scared? During all of it?" I thought about his question. Every single day. But being scared doesn't mean you stop fighting. It means you fight harder. And you taught me that. "I taught you?" "You're the reason I fought," I said. "Because you're my son, and I'd go through fire for you. That's what mothers do." Darnell laid his head on my shoulder, just like when he was little. "I love you, Mama." "I love you too, baby. Always." As the sun set over our neighborhood, I felt peace for the first time in months. The fight was over. Justice had been served. My son was free, and we were together. Simone had tried to break us, but instead she'd made us stronger. And that's the thing about trying to destroy people who have real love, real community, and real faith. You can't win, because what we have can't be stolen, can't be bought, and can't be broken. It can only grow stronger. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.